Steve Bunin with you, and new at noon, a major development in the fight against coronavirus in Western Washington. Our social distancing is working and it has to continue. That's according to a new report from Bellevue-based Institute for Disease Modeling, which county leaders have relied on. It shows social distancing efforts are indeed slowing transmission of the virus in King, Snohomish, and Pierce counties more successfully than anticipated. It says the measure of how many new infections a single case will produce has dropped to around 1. Instead, i.e. you'll affect just 1 people if you're sick, not 13 anymore. The report credits everyone who is staying home, and it says we cannot let our guard down yet. Governor Inslee's stay-at-home order has to remain in place to prevent a rebound in the number of cases like we are seeing in China, which we'll get to in a little bit. So again, that's the good news. We are still, though, seeing the virus impact our community right now. In fact, some UW Medical Center workers have tested positive. King 5's Callie Greenberg has details.
The hospital says at least 10 staffers have tested positive for coronavirus at the campus here, the University of Washington Medical Center Northwest. Those staffers range from a variety of positions, from therapists to nurses. Thankfully, all 10 of them are in stable condition right now, recovering and isolating themselves at home. What the hospital says is that it's launched an investigation in early April when they first saw 3 positive cases. They believe that transmission happened between healthcare workers in late March. Now, since March 23rd, all staff members on every campus have been required to attest that before each shift, they do not have a fever or symptoms of a respiratory infection. Also happening now, just started yesterday, UW Medicine has started testing all patients admitted to the hospital for coronavirus. The hospital says this is part of a proactive surveillance strategy.
We actually do this for several other infectious conditions like MRSA and other resistant bacteria. And so we're going to incorporate this into our usual flow where we just add this on, expecting most people will be negative. And if we catch a positive, then we're feeling really lucky that we did.
Although the Northwest unit here does not treat confirmed coronavirus patients, the hospital has been testing all patients since early April, and what they are saying is the hospital isn't aware of any patients acquiring coronavirus while hospitalized at this facility. In Seattle, Callie Greenberg, King 5 News.
And a COVID testing site in Bremerton is now taking a new wave of patients. Take a look. This site at the National Guard Armory opened last week, but only to medical workers. It's now open to several more groups, including first responders, people who work or live in communal settings, and people who are at high risk. Appointments are available between 11 a.m. and 2 in the afternoon, today through Friday. Health experts are warning against reopening the economy too early over fears that the number of cases could spike again. Yesterday, in a contentious news conference, President Trump declared that he has, quote, total authority to decide when to reopen businesses in every state. Legal experts say that is just not true.
Somebody's the president of the United States. The authority is total. And that's the way it's got to be.
Your authority is total.
It's total. It's total. And the governors know that. They will cooperate perfectly. Watch.
Well, right now, 7 governors in the Northeast, you see there, and then the 3 here on the West Coast are partnering up, coming up with their own plans on how and when to ease social distancing. And Washington obviously included in that. Governor Inslee announcing that he will be working closely with California and Oregon's governors to begin planning a coordinated, gradual reopening of our economy. King 5's Kira Elfallen reports from Covington.
Yeah, so these 3 governors pretty early on issued stay-home orders just to make sure they could prevent the further spread of the coronavirus. And now the 3 of them will be working together to make sure when the economy does reopen that all the people living in the 3 states remain safe and healthy. And also to make sure businesses like this, the Covington Marshalls and Home Goods, make sure businesses like this, which are clearly closed with the carts pushed up close to the door, to make sure that businesses like this can reopen without having the fear of further spread of the coronavirus. The 3 governors announced a plan to work together where the health of people living in the 3 states come first and where health and science and not politics will guide decisions. Even so, President Donald Trump wanted to make it very clear that the decision to open up the states will be his. In a tweet, he said it will not be up to the individual states. Here's what Governor Inslee said during his press conference yesterday.
But as far as who has the legal authority to make decisions about the Stay Home, Stay Healthy initiative, which I issued as governor of the state of Washington, There really is no question about that. That is in the singular purview of the state of Washington and the governor of the state of Washington.
Governor Inslee said there is no specific date for when the economy will reopen, but he did say there are two things that need to happen before this is possible. First, the rate of infection has to be low enough, and second, there has to be no question that the state has enough test kits and the ability to trace the contacts of people who have been infected, so outbreaks can be closely monitored and contained. I also wanted to add that Washington, California, and Oregon state leaders have been praised for their efforts, their fast efforts to tackle the outbreak of this virus when it started earlier on. They're also being noticed for their efforts to help out in other areas of the country like New York, where they are being hit especially hard. From Covington, I'm Kira L. Fallon, King 5 News.
Thank you, Kira. So when will the stay-at-home order end? If Governor Inslee's tweets are any indication, not very soon. In a series of tweets, he provided data from UW that shows if we stop social distancing next week, the virus would return with a curve that looks like this. It's not as steep as the first and much more manageable. See those dots? But then in another tweet shows the difference if we were to stop social distancing right now. That curve rises drastically and much earlier, threatening to send us all back to where we began so long ago. So for now, the stay-at-home order continues to expire on May 4th. Almost 1,000 minimum security, low-risk inmates in Washington state will be released soon to protect them from exposure to coronavirus while within the state prisons. The governor made that announcement yesterday, admitting that it may surprise their victims.
There simply is not time to do victim notification and negotiation to comply with the Supreme Court order. So these are emergency decisions. They are pursuant to order of the state Supreme Court, and we are moving as quickly as possible to be in compliance with that and what is good public policy.
The governor's order applies to convicts with nonviolent drug and alcohol-related crimes and for those with 6 to 8 months left to serve. That means between 600 and up to 950 inmates will be released soon. At least 14 corrections employees and 8 inmates have tested positive so far. Inmates caused a disturbance last week at the Monroe Correctional Complex in protest.